So when we hear these things, so you notice a pattern of what I'm doing. We're just going to do one more. Let's go back to the passage, look in the context, look closely, unpack it, and see if this advice we've heard really makes sense. Now, I'm going to need 3 people to look up some passages here for me. But if any of you heard this one, if you want to know God's if you want to know God's will, look for an open door. I'm actually curious, how many of you heard this in some fashion? You've heard the open door thing. Okay, so if it's a closed door, God's will is closed. If it's an open door, that's telling us to go through it. Now, I need a couple people to look up some passages here for me with a loud, booming voice and a Charlton Heston type sound. No, I'm kidding. None of that's required. Who can just simply read a verse that other people can hear? Pastor Bo. Excellent. You have 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verses 8 and 9. 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verses 8 and 9. Okay? Who else could possibly read for me? I know it's going to be hard to read after him. Yes, wonderful. What's your name? Ginny. Thank you. You have 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 12. 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 12. Okay? So, Bo, again, you have 1 Corinthians 16, verses 8 and 9. We'll have you read that. And then you have 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 12 and 13. Now, these are all related to the life of Paul. And I want you to simply ask a question as we look at these different passages. How does Paul make sense of open doors? That's the question. How does he process an open door for his life or ministry? All right, so 1 Corinthians 16, verses 8 and 9, nice and loud in that preacher's voice. Go.
Wives, submit to your husband.
Whatever. You are so bad. That was so predictable. Oh, my word. I love it. Go ahead.
But I will stay on in Ephesus until Pentecost, because a great door for effective work has opened to me, and there are many who oppose me.
What did Paul just say? I'm going to stay here through Pentecost. Why? Because a door has opened for me. So open door, Paul takes it. Right? Pretty simple. 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 12 and 13. Nice and loud.
Now when I went to Troas to preach the gospel of Christ and found that the Lord had opened the door for me, I still had no peace of mind, because I didn't find my brother Titus there. So I said goodbye to them and went on to Macedonia.
Okay, wait a minute. Do you notice what just happened? It says he was heading to Troas, had an open door, but went on where? To Macedonia. Now, we'll come back to his reason why he didn't in a minute. Don't forget that. But you notice something interesting. Has an open door, takes it. In another circumstance, he has an open door and doesn't take it. Now, there's a third story I won't read, but you remember the story in Acts 16 where Paul is in prison and his shackles fall off and the physical door actually opens up. What does he do? He stays put, and the jailer is about to kill himself. Now, I don't know about you, but if I happen to be in prison and like my shackles fall off at the same time the door opens up, that kind of feels like it just might be a supernatural occurrence. I mean, I don't want to read too much into this, but probably something supernatural is happening. Here, he has a physical open door and doesn't take it. So here's the question. How did Paul view open doors as it relates to ministry and the decisions he made about where he ministered? Anyone, how does he kind of view it as what? As what? I heard a word. Opportunities. That's exactly right. I think that's right. Paul sees open doors for ministry or a physical open door out of jail as an opportunity he can choose to take or not. He didn't say, I took this open door and went to, Macedonia. I'm in God's will. I didn't go to Troas, so I'm not. He didn't process it that way. Paul believed God was sovereign and he was working miracles and ultimately guiding his path. But when he came across open doors, he viewed them as opportunities he could choose to take or he could choose not to take. Now, if you're listening carefully, why didn't he go to Troas and he did go to Macedonia? Because what? What does it say in the verse you read? Because he didn't have peace of mind. You go, Sean, wait a minute. You just said peace is not how God speaks. Now, listen carefully. This is very important. There's a big difference between saying, when you're making a decision, weighing peace of mind as an important component in that decision-making process, versus saying, because I have peace about something, it is God's will that I do that particular thing. Do you see how different that is? It's a huge difference. If you're making a decision, whatever it may be, having peace of mind about something or not is a very important component in a wise decision-making process. Especially if you're a guy and you're married and your wife does not have peace of mind, you better listen to that feminine intuition. I've learned that one the hard way. But that's different from saying this is a smart way to make a decision versus God speaking through my lack of peace of mind, telling me I'm only obedient if I do this or don't do that. That's a big difference. So I think you're right the way you described it. God opens doors and God closes doors, and we give him the credit for that. But certainly Paul interpreted this as opportunities he could take or not take.